is everything. Do you know that? And I don't need to tell you, Patriots fans, that the Patriots have faded the past 5 years. They haven't won a playoff game since the 2018 Super Bowl. They got bludgeoned by Buffalo the last time they were in the postseason. They were a 4-13 team, and they earned that. They did little to improve their roster in free agency. So this is their opportunity. It's the most important draft they've had since 1993. And that one, with the drafting of Drew Bledsoe, that laid the brick in what became a dynasty, okay? The first one. This draft will determine how the rest of this decade goes. It's in the hands of a personnel department in flux, and that personnel department is turning the team over to a wholly untested coaching staff. They're juggling chainsaws down at Patriot Place. They get it right, nobody gets hurt. They make a mistake, and it's going to get messy. And they'll be right back here again in 2028. Phil, the pressure's on.
Sure is, Tom, especially if you're Eliot Wolf. And you're not even under contract as the general manager moving forward. Guy's practically drafting for his job, Tom. I may be overstating that. But yes, this obviously, it is critical. You can't screw it up. You also can't get cute. We'll talk about that today. Yeah, we definitely have to talk about that because do you appease what you perceive your boss's wishes to be, or do you get aggressive? BEAGGRESSIVV. Here is the game plan. Brian Hoyer, you're going to love this. The former Patriots quarterback, he will break down the quarterbacks in this draft. Wheeling? Dealing? Are the Patriots doing either? We'll find out. Also, grasp your reality. This is an ode to Eliot Wolf and polls, comments, all of that. But first, it's time for Quickfire, which is presented by your local New England Honda dealers. First things first, Drake Maye video. Where'd you go? There you are.
I'm right here. I'm on my X. Drake Maye. Brian Hoyer breaks him down along with Phil and I. Take a listen. Here's the first throw. Phil, take us through this.
Is there anything that stands out to you in terms of the footwork, Brian, before, we don't want to start critiquing these guys right off the top, but that has been the big critique. Was that something that can be fixed if he comes to the Patriots?
I actually think that's the easiest thing to be fixed. The footwork to me would be the least of the concern. If we want to rewind this back to the beginning and pause it right there, the first thing that stands out to me is his recognition of coverage. We call this blitz zero. There's 5 DBs lined up across. It's an empty formation. There's only 5 linemen to block. They're blitzing 6 guys. So to me, what's even more impressive than this throw, which it's not hard to tell, but he sees the blitz and he knows exactly where the weak point in the protection is. He knows a guy's going to come free from the left. He knows what matchups he has. This is man coverage. And so you talk about footwork. I actually think this is good footwork. He drifts a little bit to the right where the protection's a little more firm. Lofts a great pass. We call this an inside slot fade, right over the guy's shoulder. I mean, you couldn't really ask for a better play from the quarterback right here.
I'm going to go simply a high comp, and that's going to be a faster, less powerful armed, smidgen smaller Drew Bledsoe.
So for me, I said, he's not going to run as well as Josh Allen, and he's not as big and as strong, but there's definitely some comparisons, and if he has time to develop, I think that would be best case scenario.
I would go high comp. I'll go Justin Herbert. He's not as tall as Herbert, but I think his arm's a little less than Allen. He's not quite as fast as Allen. I think that maybe puts him in a little bit closer ballpark to Herbert.
All right, those are all the high comps. We have low comps, too, including guys like, Mitch Trubisky. So I want you to make sure you check all of those out. Phil, great job on that. But
you too.
Do they take Drake?
Yes, they do. They're going to be there at 3. They're going to have a quarterback that they like, who has fallen to them. Caleb Williams 1. Jayden Daniels, I believe, still will be the number 2 overall pick. That leaves them with Drake Maye, Tom. You could try to trade down and still end up with a quarterback in some way, shape, or form, but if you get down to 6, I don't think that guarantees you anything. You'll go all the way down to 11. Now, maybe you're taking Michael Penix. Maybe they like Michael Penix, but he might be their 4th or 5th favorite quarterback in this year's draft. Stay at 3. Take Drake Maye.
Take the guy who has the most upside but needs the most seasoning. Speaking of trading down, here's Eliot Wolf from last Thursday talking about moving around.
We're open to anything, moving up, moving down. We're open for business in the first round and in every round. We have some holes we feel like we need to fill in the draft, and we're a draft and develop team. The more picks we have, the better.
More picks they have, the better. That could be first round. That could be later in the draft. To me, they're going to stick right where they are at number 3. And this is a little bit performative on the part of Eliot Wolf. Wouldn't be doing his job right if he didn't say, please call if you have something. and then they're not going to be budged off because they are looking for a haul. I know that to be the case.
Teams could get stupid, though, Tom. I know the Giants are really interested in Drake Maye, and they're right there at 6. So if you feel like you can go from 3 to 6, and maybe you still have the opportunity to take someone like, for instance, J.J. McCarthy, who might not be in the conversation at 3, but a little bit later in the first round, who knows? If they feel like they can work the board in that fashion, maybe they would go ahead and try to do that. Again, it would require a stupid haul coming their way. I just think it's getting a little too cute if you move down that far. There are other teams that are going to be trying to move up for somebody like J.J. McCarthy. If Drake Maye goes off the board to the Giants at 3, you're playing with your food a little bit too much, Tom, at that position. You want to do that at tackle or receiver, and you want to mess around and take your second favorite guy, go right ahead. At quarterback, too cute.
That would be Eliot getting in his bag, as they like to say. All right, up next, Diana Rossini, friend of the program and from The Athletic, tweeted this yesterday, caused a hubbub. Patriots are listening and taking calls from teams looking to move into number 3 while Eliot Wolf is running point. I'm told Patriots President Jonathan Kraft is heavily involved in the decision-making. Here's what I know. As of yesterday afternoon, late afternoon, nothing has risen to the level of being presented to ownership in terms of a trade offer yet. When it is, ownership will be looped, same way they were looped when Bill Belichick was here. Now, they weren't going to loop him on a 5th-round pick necessarily and say, that okay with you? But on the 3rd overall pick, on a 1st-round pick, whether it's Eliot Wolf, Bill Belichick, or Pete Carroll, they wanted to know. But think about this, because there is a knee-jerk reaction every time Jonathan Kraft's name is mentioned to say he's running things. Do you think after 31 years of ownership that Robert and Jonathan, who time and again sit in front of everybody and say, we're not doing the football, are going to pretend that they know more football than the guys down in the personnel department? And they're going to foist upon these people, Phil, a pick that those guys don't want. Look, they might have their own preferences, but if that group is aligned, the tie-breaking vote's going to Eliot Wolf, no question.
And think about it, Tom. If they are trying to, the Krafts, if they are trying to evaluate this football operation the way it's set up right now, between Eliot Wolf especially, again, since we know they're going to be interviewing front office people soon after the draft, how are you going to get a sound evaluation on a guy if you're actually the one who's making the pick? If you're the one who is heading up the process and who is pulling all the levers and pushing all the buttons? So I'm with you. That's my understanding as well. They want to be looped in. They're not looking for granting permission.
I guess the question then becomes, why do we keep circling back to the presence, the man behind the curtain of Jonathan Kraft? And I think a lot of it might feed back to the perception that is the case. And that's been something the Krafts have been battling since the mid-90s, when Bill Parcells said, you ought to be able to shop for your groceries if they want you to cook the meal. And in turn, that perception was fed throughout the Pete Carroll era. And now again, with Bill Belichick gone, it is resurfacing in earnest. And I just don't think it's the case, but they can't tamp it down in any way. Here comes some talk on Brandon Ayuk. Meanwhile, our friend Kyrie Thompson, WBUR, spoke to Kendrick, Patriots wide receiver. Which player you want the Patriots to get, Brandon? Excuse me, Kendrick. I want Ayuk, San Francisco 49ers. He's my guy, and I think he'll fit in. Just being a one-on-one receiver at X, he can take a whole half of the field and dominate and create a lot of attention for himself. That's big in our offense, the X receiver. It's also not been in their offense, Phil. Brandon Ayuk, the Patriots. Talk about what we talked about on the pod today.
I love that fit. I love it for the Patriots. He is a true X. He is somebody who can win in one-on-one situations and win in all situations. And Tom, I think it's especially important for the Patriots to try to land somebody via trade, whether it's Ayuk, Higgins, etc. Name your classic boundary receiver that's already established himself in the NFL. Because this draft class, while it is deep with pretty good players, it is not deep with boundary guys. And so if the Patriots are waiting until the 3rd round to try to add a receiver who can make an impact, that guy might not be there this year. So you go quarterback, tackle, and you wait. I don't love whoever's coming to them at that range. I'd be more excited, I think Patriots fans would be too, to trade a future pick and land somebody like Brandon Ayuk.
Or, for instance, you get Drake Maye, you trade for Brandon Ayuk with the 34th overall pick, you sign him to a new contract, you find your tackle, you're in a really good spot if you're the Patriots and you have won on draft week. And again, I'll reiterate what I've said a few times. The Patriots are very interested in trading. They understand the Calvin Ridley miss left a hole on their roster. They have that money burning a hole in their pocket. They need to spend it. Don't be stunned if you see a wide receiver trade on draft day. Meanwhile, from the stands, we asked you guys finally, if you were running the draft, what would you do at number 3? Last chance to do it. 62.4% of you are okay, enough, take Drake Maye. 20.2% say trade down, take your Michael Penix. It's 13.5% people say Brandon Daniels is there. 3.8%, all of us in a Mini Cooper, myself driving, taking J.J. McCarthy. Here are the comments. Brad says they can pull it off, trade down, and move back up to take McCarthy. Patriots can address wideout, tackle, and get their top quarterback. Next, the Scantic Tech Antiques. I'm drafting a stud wide receiver, Marvin Harrison. I'm trading for/signing a real number 1.
Giving Bailey Zappi the ball?
Oh, my.
Really?
Oh, my.
Come on,
Oh,
Scantic.
my. You want to be back here in 2028, don't you? All right, Midwest Ethos. If I were the Patriots, I'd take Maye. You got to gamble with him, paired with Alex Van Pelt. Been around quarterbacks of all shapes and sizes. Dave Smith, everyone talks about the Brady pick. But Rick Myra in 1992 had a better career at Notre Dame, and they nailed the Bledsoe pick when they took Bledsoe number 1 over Myra. And Myra was the Rookie of the Year in 1993, but ended up being better. And there are some Myra and McCarthy comps. Meanwhile, this guy, I don't think the team's ready for a rookie quarterback. We need a build-up, offensive line and skill positions first. Deal with the bridge year or quarterback for Brissett and get the guy. I don't hate that either, my friend. Next. And finally, Ryan, if they don't draft Maye, they deserve the 0-17 coming and being fired. The Brass will also deserve the empty stadium in September. I think we hit this guy last week as well, Phil. He wanted the groundskeepers thrown from the lighthouse.
Oh, I remember him. Yeah, that was completely uncalled for.
Yeah, well,
on his part. Yeah.
Your feelings on what the fans are saying. They're aligned with you. That's scary.
Well, listen, everybody should be in alignment here. It gives you something to sell. It allows you to have a little bit of hope as a franchise, as a fan base. And he's a good player. He's not just a big bag of traits. He can think his way through the game, as Brian Hoyer pointed out to us when we sat down with him. He is a good player. Go back and watch the 2022 Drake Maye tape. I think you'll be impressed.
Oh, so watch the good plays, but not the not as good plays. Okay.
He was still really good this year, Tom. I know you watched it. I know you did.
He's fine. He'd be a good fit for a lot of reasons.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
give
just
him
nervous
J.J.
about
McCarthy.
his feet.
No,
okay, meanwhile, coming up after the break, how good are the Patriots? Let's talk about that, Eliot. Growth Potential, brought to you by Dr. Matthew Presley. Look younger, feel younger, get your hair back with Leonard Hair Transplant Associates. Here are the top 5 picks in the Super Bowl era that the Patriots have made, okay? You never want the Patriots to be up here again. You understand me? Because they used to live up here. You got your Phil Olsen, not familiar. Jim Plunkett, traded away in 1975, won 2 Super Bowls with the Raiders. Hall of Famer John Hannah, Hall of Famer Mike Haynes, Kenneth Game Day Sims. You had some really interesting moments from Irving Fryer, Drew Bledsoe, hell of a player. Petered out at the end, and Willie McGinnis, well, he got better as his career in New England went on. Meanwhile, it's time for my slant. Punch out! And ladies and gentlemen, Patriots de facto GM Eliot Wolf last week said that he's, quote, not sure what that means when people say the offensive roster isn't good enough to support a rookie quarterback. Eliot, here's what it means. The 2023 offense for the second year in a row was horrific. 31st out of 32 in scoring. This team has had 1 Pro Bowl player in the past 4 seasons. That was Mack. He was an alternate in the Pro Bowl, and he doesn't play here anymore. They don't have a left tackle returning or established. They don't have an ex-receiver. You know who caught the most passes for this team last year? Ezekiel Elliott. He also ran for the most yards. Here's Wolf when asked last week if he thinks the wideouts on the Patriots are underestimated.
I do, yes. Yep. I mean, we have NFL receivers, we have NFL tight ends, we have NFL running backs, we have NFL offensive linemen. We feel good about where we are, and we feel through free agency on the offensive side in particular that we've been able to supplement our roster properly so we're not having to draft for need as much offensively.
Now here's Brett Veach, GM of the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, on needs.
We have a lot of needs, and I think it's one of those things that, you know, you go into every draft. I mean, you can look at our roster, and I think short of quarterback, maybe linebacker. But I think there's needs on the offensive line for sure. I mean, guard center depth, competition at left tackle, receiver there's a need. Cornerback, we just lost Snead.
So Wolf really leaned into the notion that the Patriots have NFL players. Do you know what every player in the NFL is? They're an NFL player. I'm sensing a tenuous grasp on reality for GM Eliot Wolf, interim. If he thinks that the roster that he was part of building is just fine, to maybe even pretty good, well, that's an issue. Makes me wonder, did he think moving on from Jacoby Myers or signing Riley Reef or passing on DeAndre Hopkins or taking in kickers and punters way too early, did he think that was a great idea? Was he all in on spending a first-rounder on Cole Strange and a second-rounder on Tyquan Thornton? We've been given the impression these personnel guys were muzzled and there was genius under the basket and now their light would shine. But if Wolf thinks the offensive needs were already so well addressed, holy crap, we have NFL players? We don't have to draft for need? To borrow Eliot's phrase, I'm not sure what that means, but if it means what I think it means, that ain't good, Phil.
Thomas, listen to me. Hear me now. I am old enough to remember 10 minutes ago in this very program where we played sound from Eliot Wolf, who said we have holes on the roster. And so you're hearing two different messages from him at the same time, and I think it comes back to the fact that we are in the middle of, the tail end of, lying season.
Oh, come on.
And I think he feels as though, listen, he's not going to sit up there and say, well, yeah, we obviously don't have a tackle. I know we just signed a guy, but that guy can't play. And we obviously don't have receivers. KJ Osborne, Kendrick Bourne's coming back from injury. Pop Douglas, young guy, maybe a little bit of a fragile ego. Like, those guys can't play. So we need all across the board. I think he opted against that because he's not in the position Brett Veach is in, who has had a ton of success, who is managing the best team in football right now with the greatest quarterback in the league right now. It's a different scenario. He can't say the same things behind a microphone that Veach can. They know they need help. Yeah. They know.
Okay, he literally said that we did well in free agency on offense.
Yeah, do you think he means that? Do you think he believes that?
Hold on.
Do you think he believes it?
Yes, that's what scares me.
All right. Well,
because he was part of the operation that, again, just using Jacoby Myers as the for instance, that thought it was okay to move on from him and bring in Juju. Okay, so to me, somebody there is hanging over and saying, we thought that was a good idea.
You're believing what you hear, which I don't blame you for.
Bill,
I'm choosing not to.
Okay, well, I mean, when somebody sits in front of a microphone and talks, it's easier.
It's always the truth.
It's not lying.
It's always the truth. That's true.
Meanwhile, I mean, if your default is everything's a lie, why do we show up?
Not everything. Just
then why do we show up at
in draft season? Yeah, because we have to. It's our job.
Everything's a lie. Don't bother.
It's not everything.
Meanwhile, Jayden Daniels, we're going to shoot you straight on him. We're going to start it off with just a laser.
Yeah, and I think here we talk about coverage. We would call this like 4-push, cover 4, and because they're in a 3-by-1, the backside safety's pushing. So you see him check left. I think he probably feels more than he sees everybody push, and a lot of times the guy who becomes the most open in this coverage is your backside X receiver, which is great to see him get back. And this is where I say, like, you think you're going to turn on the film and see this guy who's scrambling, running around. This is pure drop back pass, and I think that's the more I've watched him, that's what I really like. Him reset, find the guy who's open to hit him in stride.
Yeah, his feet go with him from the left.
This looks like Joe Burrow to me with his footwork. And I don't know if it's the same quarterback coach, same coordinator, I'm not sure. But there's a lot of similarities in their stance, their drop, their throws.
Last thing I'll say, too, on the technique, his head is totally stationary when he throws. More Jayden Daniels, Phil.
I've had NFL coaches tell me, I'm not sure why the Bears are so dead set on taking Caleb Williams #1 overall, because if it was my pick, this is them talking, it would be this guy, Jayden Daniels.
High comp, low comp from both of you guys on Jayden Daniels.
I'll go first this time. I'll just go with Lamar.
I mentioned it before. Maybe it's the LSU jersey, but it's Burrow. I think he has the ability to be a drop back passer.
Guys, tremendous insight on Jayden Daniels. And I wasn't lying, Phil. You can believe me when I say things.
I appreciate that. I am choosing to believe you in this moment. So thank you for that. Listen, if the comps are Lamar and Joe Burrow, how does he not go #2 overall, understanding that Chicago's already made a...
we couldn't even come up with a low-end comp. We threw out Justin Fields. You'll see that on the YouTube, and as we show the entirety of those interviews later on. But the worst we could do is Justin Fields. And look, he's had some ups and downs, and I'm not saying he's a Pro Bowler, but Justin Fields is not horrendous. You don't want him at #3. But be that as it may.
Believe that.
Hey, on the clock, NFL draft special. We got the draft beginning on Thursday. You know that. What will the Patriots do at #3? Full coverage that night. On the clock starts at 7, going all the way until midnight. Presented by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning. They're the name to know when the drains don't flow. J.J. McCarthy, we haven't hit him yet. You know why? We saved the best for last. That guy was so well covered, he had absolutely no time to throw. Look at this guy. Woo! Here's the first throw for J.J. A laser. This is a short throw, guys, but I love this because this shows the arm strength.
We talk about fundamentals, but to me, what this shows here is he knows what the blitz is, he knows what the coverage is. And so much to me about, you get into the fundamentals talk, you get into, completion percentage, all those things. A lot of the times, it's more about knowing where to go with the football than how you deliver it.
This is almost a 60-yard throw. Watch, he's at his 45. Now he's at his 40, he steps up. He throws it to the end zone. That's almost 60 yards. It never gets over 30 feet in the air.
This is a great ball.
Yep.
On some of these deeper throws, you will see him occasionally just airmail somebody who is wide open down the sideline because he doesn't necessarily put the same kind of loft on it that some of these other guys do.
Yeah, this is a ball, I mean, to me, if I was going to put myself in this position and throw the perfect ball, I'd probably throw it with more air and throw it more across the field. He's really driving this, which, like you said, showcases his arm strength. And I think when you really talk about quarterbacks in the NFL, everybody's going to be able to throw it 60 yards in the NFL. I think that's probably the gold standard. 60-yard pass. To me, he actually makes it harder on himself throwing the ball the way. If he just lofts it out there, probably to the numbers with a little more air, lets this guy run underneath it. But he clearly has a strong enough arm to do it because he's even kind of hitching up to his left and then throwing it across his body.
All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Phil, do you want to hear my high-end comp for JJ?
I would love to hear it.
It's Aaron Rodgers. That's high-end. Now, I know Aaron Rodgers has a freak arm, but when you talk foot speed, arm strength, command, fundamentals, Aaron Rodgers sat on the draft board until the late mid-20s, okay? J.J. McCarthy, I'm not saying he's going to be Aaron Rodgers, but a comp.
That is smoking hot. I need a stack of paper so I can do what they do on BSC and
Well, my
wave
low
you
end,
off.
My low
That is
end
a hot take.
My low end is Zach Wilson.
Wow. That feels a little more fair.